It's just like the Little Mermaid.
Yes, yeah.
Which was 2 years later, so they did it first in Jaws: The Revenge.
But it's been a while since I saw Little Mermaid. When giant Ursula gets stabbed with the front of that ship, does she explode?
No.
Okay, that's the
not
difference.
that I would have had a problem with that, but yeah.
Yeah, because that has an element of fantasy to it. This one establishes that the thing Jake put into the shark was dynamite. Yeah, this shark is gone. But I think trying to find some positives. When Jake gets bitten off and killed, it sharpens that front. It turns the boat into a spear, and then they use that to kill the shark. I like that when the environment changes, the vehicle they're on changes, and they use that change to kill the monster. That was a good element, I think.
Yeah. The sequence is really awkwardly edited, though. I mean, it's one of those things where it reminds me of that sequence in Monty Python and the Holy Grail where John Cleese is running from a great distance and then suddenly he's right there, and it's kind of that way where it's like the shark seems like it's pretty far away and then all of a sudden it's getting rammed into and exploding.
I would say every action sequence in this film is some of the worst editing I've seen in any film, because all of it is like so close and so quick and you can't make out anything that's happening. Genuinely, the first time I watched this, I didn't work out how this shark had died. I couldn't. I knew they were heading towards it, and then the shark exploded. I missed the bit where it was stabbed. So, because as you say, it was so far away, and then suddenly it was on the kebab. It was the second time around. I go, okay, now I get it.
She used Jedi powers. It's just like how Luke explodes the Death Star. Well, Ellen explodes the shark.
Did she close her eyes before?
There was the voice of Roy Scheider saying, "Let go, Ellen, let go."
So the force of the shark exploding also blew up the boat, it turns out, so they're all just bobbing in the wreckage. But then, unlike the previous films in this franchise, that's not where the film ends. All the other films been shark died, people are kind of floating, credits. Here, we actually get a bit of a denouement. They're on land. We see the further adventures, where Ellen is flying back home with Hoagie, and Martin and his family agree to come out and see him. A scene we didn't necessarily need. I think we could have got it. It's fine. But I've enjoyed shark die film end has been my what I've liked about these films.
That's literally what they put in the screenplay. Shark die film end.
Yeah. Good. So that's Jaws: The Revenge. Todd, I apologise for the whole experience. Is there anything that we skipped over that we missed that you wanted to cover?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's an awful film, but I think it's one that if you watch it in the right spirit, you can certainly enjoy for its awfulness. I'm down for a good bad movie every now and then.
Yeah, I've made a note that Jake has terrible flip-up sunglasses because it's the 80s. Michael Caine at one point orders 2 Bahama Mamas, something I never thought I'd hear him do.
No, it's wonderful to hear Michael Caine use the word Bahama Mama.
I've been resisting doing my Michael Caine impression the entirety of this podcast so far. Everyone, you're welcome. It's not good.
Oh, I was surprised you didn't. I mean, come on.
I'm tired. It's been a week. It was difficult fitting in watching this film once, let alone twice. So yes, the reason I watched it a second time was because what I've been doing is 2 things to actually. I've been comparing all of these films to Deep Blue Sea, because that is the conceit of this podcast. So I've got a little list of how Jaws: The Revenge is similar to Deep Blue Sea. So if you'll humour me, I'll just go through this. It is quite a short list.
Both movies, is that it?
There's sharks in both of them.
Yeah.
And that's it. No. So it's a relatively short list compared to some other films. So during the attack on Sean, this is the case with all the Jaws films, that we see something from the shark's eye view, just kind of bobbing in the water, looking at what it's going to do, which we see when Sam Jackson and Janice are on the dock at Aquatica. You just see there's this camera under the water, just kind of watching them. Never established that there's a shark there, but I like to think there is. When Sean dies, he gets his arm bitten off first, just like Stellan Skarsgård. Loses the arm, then he dies. there is a small plane being flown by an English person. In Deep Blue Sea, in Saffron Burrows' office, in Dr. Susan McAllister's office, there is a model of a shark that she does her animal brain stuffing practice on. I'm pretty sure they use that model of a shark as the shark in Jaws 4. Because it's just a big plastic shark. There's a scene with heavy rain. Like I said, not many parallels between these two. When Hoagie and Ellen come back from their date, it's raining pretty hard. And when Jim's being taken to the helicopter, it's chucking it down. There's a birthday party in both films. The New Year's Eve casino party is also Louisa, Jake's girlfriend's birthday party.
Yes.
That's in both. In Carla's art studio, there are some wrenches hung up, and Thomas Jane has a scene where he's hanging up wrenches. I was really stretching for some of these. There's an acetylene torch. Again, Carla's using that in her art studio, and that's Deep Blue Sea 2. There's an acetylene torch scene where the protagonist, Dr. Misty Calhoun, tries to fight off a flock of baby sharks with an acetylene torch, and it doesn't go well. But that's in both, and also in Deep Blue Sea 3 they put a tracker on a shark, which they do here. And when Hoagie is kind of giving a speech when he gets taken out by the shark, when he's on the plane, he's kind of like mid-speech, and he goes, "Oh, crap!" And the shark takes him out, which kind of happens to Sam Jackson, but he didn't survive. And finally, they've reshot the ending after the initial release. Just like they did with Deep Blue Sea, they did an initial screening, which they reshot the ending, in which they changed whether a character lives or dies. So in that one, they decided they had to kill off Dr. Susan McAllister, and here they had to preserve the life of our beloved Jake.
Our beloved Jake.
Beloved Jake, as he is in the credits. So that's it. Not many. Oh, and like Jake's in the mouth of the shark as it's swimming around, a similar way that Preacher is. But I didn't find a lot of parallels in this one. But the final thing I have to do is work out how deep and how blue Jaws: The Revenge is. So Todd, if I were to tell you that Deep Blue Sea is about 47.5 feet deep on average and 31% blue, do you think Jaws: The Revenge is deeper and or bluer than Deep Blue Sea? Okay.
I don't think it's deeper, because most of the time when we see the underwater shots, it's pretty clear water, which I guess the Bahamas is kind of known for. But it seems like the deeper you get, the darker it's going to get. So it doesn't feel very deep. I will say it feels bluer though, because it does have that really clear blue water in this. So I'll say not as deep, but bluer.
Absolutely correct. The water in the Bahamas, I looked up, is on average about 30 feet deep. It's quite shallow close up, and then it's a huge drop off when you get to the ocean. And they're mostly not that deep. So 30 feet, about 10 meters deep. And then a lot of stuff up in a plane, up on land. This actually works out above sea level, depth wise. It works out about 5.5 feet up in the air. So 1.6 meters. And then in blueness, I said Deep Sea is 31% blue. This is 45.5% blue. It's quite blue. A lot of clear blue skies, swimming around in the clear ocean. But it is very slightly bluer than Jaws 3. But it's very close. Jaws 3D worked out 44.61% blue. This is exactly 1% bluer, 45.61% blue. And Jaws 2, 57.4. I haven't worked out how deep and blue Jaws, the original, is. We haven't covered that on this show because I'm familiar with it. So maybe I don't think the original would be that blue, because it's like I just remember murky underwater sequences and that Ben Johnson's boat and stuff like that. Sorry, Ben Gardner's boat. Ben Gardner. What did I said? Ben Johnson. I hate to be the kind of pedant who does that kind of thing, but also I can't not. So I'm sorry. That one is a sin that you should definitely call me on. Okay. My apologies to Steven Spielberg, Peter Benchley, Richard Dreyfuss, and everyone else. Good. Well, thank you, Todd, for joining me for Jaws: Revenge. Where can the listeners find more of you online? What you got going on? Well, my blog is called Forgotten Films. It's all about what I call the movies that time forgot. So that's at forgottenfilmcast.wordpress.com. My podcast, oddly enough, called The Forgotten Filmcast. You can find that
in all the places where you find your podcasts. And then I have another podcast that's about Disney films called Walt Sent Me. And when I say Disney, it's not just Disney as far as like, Snow White or Zootopia or Aladdin or The Little Mermaid. It's all kinds of Disney stuff from all their different studios. So, yeah, check out all that stuff.
I was on to talk about No Country for Old Men, for instance.
Yes.
And I've been on Forgotten Filmcast numerous times to talk about numerous films. Always a fun time. No shark films yet, but maybe we'll try and find a forgotten shark film to talk about.
Yes, that would we should do that, definitely. Get you and Mark on both for that.
Would Orca count as a forgotten film, or is that too well remembered? I haven't seen it.
I think I would consider that forgotten. I have seen that. Orca is a little nuts. There's some really disturbing moments in that, and Bo Derek gets her leg bitten off, and it's weird.
I was going to say no spoilers because it is scheduled for an upcoming episode.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine. I'm surprised when anyone survives any of these films. So, because I know that in their situation I would die immediately. It's just yeah.
Absolutely. The eel would get me. So.
Oh, yeah. I'd just die of fright. So, listeners, you can find the podcast. You can follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and hopefully Facebook again. We're having some issues with the Facebook page. At Deep Blue Sea Pod. And you can email us deepblueseapod@gmail.com for suggestions on future Deep Blue Sea adjacent films we should cover, or any corrections or anything we've missed on today's show. And you can listen to me once a month over on the Lambcast, the official podcast of the large association of movie blogs, where I do a movie trivia series called Lampardy, based on Jeopardy.
You don't say.
I do. And Todd is something of a regular. He's something of a legend amongst Lampardy, and he'll be on again very soon because he's been doing quite well this year. Which, hey, spoilers for the most recent episode of Lampardy. So check that out over on the Lambcast, and I'm just a guest on there now and then as well. And I've mentioned the Lamb. If you have a movie blog or podcast and want to join a large community of like-minded folks, then come join us at largeassmovieblogs.com. It's not large ass, that's a different spelling. Largeassmovieblogs.com. And you can read my personal blog, Life vs. Film, lifevsfilm.com, and follow me on Twitter at lifevsfilm. Oh, and as mentioned, listeners, you should go and check out Mark Hoffmeyer's post on Jaws the Revenge, on the exploits of the shark, on its full journey across wherever it goes, over on moviesfilmsandflicks.com. So, yes, thank you again, Todd, for joining me for Jaws the Revenge.
Pleasure as always. Thanks for having me.
So, I've been Jake Lewitt. Next time, 47 Meters Down. We're continuing the shark theme on the next show. But as for this week, I've been Jake Lewitt, and I'll deep blue see you next week.